Hi there, Ron Magill with another edition of Let's Talk About It. And today we're going to talk about animal behavior and enrichment. And to do that, we've got Miss Ayana Chambers, our animal and enrichment and behavior specialist. Is that
Behavior
correct?
and enrichment specialist.
Animal behavior and enrichment specialist. Ayana, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So talk to us. You know, when I started at the zoo 46 years ago, I don't think we had an animal behavior and enrichment specialist. So tell me, what is the responsibility of your job?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. This position allows me to work with our teams across the zoo and helping to coach them on different behavior goals we have with our animals. Allows me to help mentor some of our newer trainers/keepers who are working on developing themselves to become the best behaviorists. So
Give me a little bit of your background. Where do you come from?
So I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I minored in environmental studies. Well, psychology is a really valuable tool if you're wanting to get into animal behavior specifically, because the principles of operant conditioning are the same, whether you're working with, a dolphin, a tiger, an elephant, a child, all of those things are the same, and it's just about adapting to your learner.
So you talk about operant conditioning. Mm-hmm. In layman's terms, what is that?
It just means that our behavior is determined by its consequences. You do something good, you get something good in return. And, when it comes to our animals, if they're doing something we don't want, we're going to ignore that. And just, again, trying to increase the behavior that we want to see or the desired things by giving them something good. You come over here when I call your name, I'm going to give you all the good stuff. If you don't, I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to move on. I'm going to find something different, or I'm going to figure out what you might like a little bit better than what I had to offer the first time.
So give me some examples of where that would apply to the day-to-day work of an animal.
Sure. So shifting, right? We need to make sure that we can service and clean, make sure that we are maintaining those AZA standards and just cleanliness standards for our animals. So that means with some of our large or dangerous animals, we need to move them from point A to point B in a way that's safe and reliable to make sure that we can continue doing that daily. So by asking my animal to go from, a night house onto an exhibit, that is a shifting behavior that helps us do, the bare minimum, which is just the cleaning. And then we can take that, even further by training them to participate in medical behaviors. In the past, we might have to, rely on darting animals, which still occurs when needed, but we can make it a lot more stress-free, a lot less dangerous for some of those animals, and get to the point where we actually have animals participating voluntarily in an injection. And most of them are better behaved than I am when I have to get a blood draw or any type of shots.
So we have what we call the WEB team here, and that's an acronym, stands for?
Yep, well-being, enrichment, and behavior. So our team is split up into 3 focuses now. We're very lucky to have that unique team. Our well-being specialists are focusing on the data side of things. They are collecting data, they're observing our animals and helping us to make data-driven decisions. So that's kind of their focus. Our newest position to the team is an enrichment specialist who's helping us move from item-based enrichment to more goal or behavior-driven enrichment. And then my side, what I do is a behavior specialist, again, working with the animals and working with the teams to help drive those goals forward.
One of the things I've noticed, and I think the public would find interesting, is I've noticed keepers go out there with bottles of Chanel No. 5 and sometimes fecal material from another animal.
Yeah.
What is the purpose behind that?
Sure. So the behavior that we're looking for that, it's more of a scent enrichment is what you'll typically hear the teams refer to it as. And, some of our animals are very engaged by different scents. So again, if we're looking at a carnivore and we're giving them some sort of herbivore poop, we might see some hunting behaviors. Or if it's a carnivore to another carnivore, maybe we'll see some territorial type of scent marking, things of that nature. And then sometimes it's just a fun and novel scent. For example, our Coatis love the perfume, the Chanel No. 5 you're talking about. When I get the junk mail that has the perfume slips in it, I save all of those. I bring them to work and we'll rub it on something in the animal's habitat, and we'll actually see them rehearse natural behaviors. So they'll rub their tails in it. They'll try and get the scent off of the item and onto themselves. So, it's a natural behavior for them. It's really fun for us to watch and see them engage in that way. A lot of times give those parallels to our guests. I take my dog on sniff walks where there's no contingency from him or behavior on his part. I'm just letting him do his thing and enjoy his life. And then we might have walks that are more geared towards exercise or getting from point A to point B. And it's important to do all of those and not just one or the other.
We talk about item-based enrichment. I think some people, sometimes they come to the zoo and they may see pieces of newspaper on the habitat, or they see pieces of cardboard and they go, gosh, what did they do? It looks like a garbage can out there. Why did they clean that up? what is the purpose of all of those things?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things, again, it can be fun for the keepers and fun for the animals. So we like to try and merge the two. So a lot of the times with the cardboard you're talking about, we'll paint banners for an animal's birthday or a holiday that's upcoming. But at the same time, we try and make it meaningful. So like using the newspaper, shredded newspaper could be nesting material for some animals, or we could use it to hide diet items inside. So they have to sift through the newspaper. And if, in the case of our primates, they're using their hands and manipulating objects to find the food that they want versus it just being placed out there easily accessible, because that's what they'd be doing in nature, right? They're going to be hunting. Our great apes, they're using tools to manipulate, to get bugs out of trees and things like that. So we're trying to recreate that to the best of our ability to give them the best experience and the best life that we can give them here at the zoo.
So I notice you have a whistle around your neck.
I do.
What's that for?
Yeah, so this is a training tool that we call a bridge. And a bridge just bridges the gap in time from when the animal does the correct thing to when they get their reward. So it can help us in some of those behaviors, kind of rewinding. We talked about that shifting behavior, going from point A to point B, thinking about an elephant. I'm not walking beside them. They're having to do that behavior away from me to get to a certain point. So when they cross that threshold, when they cross over from one pen to another, and I can see that they're committing towards me, I can blow my whistle, and that means, hey, good job. You did the thing. Awesome. Keep coming on over here and you're going to get a treat when you get here. So it just is another way for us to communicate clearly and across the board. And we choose the whistle because, right, we all have different accents, different tones of voice, different, levels, different accents, all of those things. The whistle is the same, whether it's me blowing the whistle, you blowing the whistle, or anyone else. So it makes it clear, easy to stand out in the environment.
Is that a shift? Because I remember it used to be the clicker.
It can be a clicker. A clicker is
Okay.
also a type of bridge. You might see some of our friends at the amphitheater using a clicker. Typically, right now, they're the only team that does use that, but sometimes we'll get animals from other facilities that will be trained on a clicker bridge. I train my dog with a clicker bridge at home, and it has to do sometimes with just ease of operation. I think at the amphitheater, once upon a time, it was like, hey, we're talking in a microphone. You don't want me blowing this whistle while we're on mic, right? The clicker was a little more discreet. For other things, it's nice to have my hands free, so I can put my whistle in my mouth. It's on a lanyard. I'm not going to drop it or lose it, and it can be a little bit louder overall across a greater distance than the clicker. But clicker is a bridge too, works just as well. And some places you might hear using the verbal good or yes as a bridge as well.
From personal experiences, what do you consider like your greatest achievement as far as making a training result, a final result, something that in the beginning people might have said, you're not going to be able to do this, not going to get this done, and then you did it, and that was kind of a great reward for you?
I've been doing this for a long time, over 15 years at this point, and there's so many different training wins and things that I've experienced. And I'd say anytime we're able to get a voluntary blood with some of our animals is such a huge win, because in the past that animal might have needed to be immobilized, which can be riskier, right? Just like with us, anytime we have a surgery and we're put to sleep, especially as we age or if we have other factors going on, it's risky. So training our animals to be able to participate in those types of things is always such a huge win for me personally. So there's just too many to name at this point. Getting our animals voluntarily loaded into crates or kennels to be transported to another zoological facility, that's a huge win. The teams put their heart and soul into these things. So, they're going home and they're thinking about what can I do, or how can I change the environment, or what can I set up to make this feed or this enrichment session last longer. And they're dwelling on those things, and they're sad when they see a setback, and again, there's so many, but those are just kind of a few that are personally moving to me, and some of the more recent ones as well.
So congratulations to you and your team for all you brought about here to the zoo and the constant improvements that are going on, and hopefully we'll consistently see that continue to improve.
Yeah, that's always the goal, whatever we can continue to do better.
And I think one of the key things we also want to point out is that training these animals, though there are certain parallels to training your dog or your cat, that people shouldn't look at exotic animals as pets. I mean, that's a key thing that we try to bring out. But the fact of the matter is, all these animals are capable of being trained for certain things for their benefit.
100%, from our smallest reptile residents to our large mammals that people think about, and everything in between, we can train them all.
I appreciate your time, Ayana. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you the next time, and let's talk about it.